Well, good morning. This is Dr. Ted Caleris, Superintendent, Brooklyn City Schools. We are here with the latest episode of our Hurricane Watch podcast. I am fortunate to be here with City of Brooklyn Mayor Ron Van Kirk. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before I kind of jump into this, I wanna give you credit. I think I did this with my first podcast almost a year ago. I got a call, email from the mayor, and asking to be on a podcast, and went and did it. I was nervous about it, but I thought it was an absolutely brilliant idea of just how another way to communicate with constituents, with community members, things like that. And so giving him credit, 100% credit, no plagiarism here in any form, but you kind of inspired me to, like, is this something that we could do in the district? And I will tell you, I was hesitant, I was nervous, but I will tell you, it's been one of the most fun things I've done as a superintendent in my years of doing this. And so I just want to thank you for the idea and thank you for being here. But tell me why you originally had the idea for the podcast.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, but as I said before, podcasting is not original with me. So yeah, Brooklyn, Ohio today, but was a way for me to reach out directly to the residents of the city of Brooklyn. I am not a social media guy. I have zero presence on social media. I just, my personal opinion, find it counterproductive. So I wanted a way to be able to speak directly to the residents of the city about all the things that are going on a weekly basis. And so I'm a big podcast guy. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And so I thought, well, why can't the city of Brooklyn do that? And so I have some friends who were very good with IT and audiovisual type stuff. And so we set up the Brooklyn Ohio Today podcast. And yeah, we release every Monday. And I think we're up to episode 31, you're at 2 now.
Yeah.
And it's been very productive. I think that it gives an opportunity for various entities in the city of Brooklyn, yourself obviously was on there, to kind of come and talk about all the wonderful things that are going on in our community. And it allows us to give updates of what's going on. It's very brief. It's anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes. And but that's why I just wanted to speak directly to the residents and be able to talk about what's going on in our city.
What's the reaction been from your end, from residents, in terms of, a big following? Like, what's been that reaction for you?
It's been great. I don't have any type of tracking on it though, but I will say I had several community gatherings this summer, and in speaking with residents, and quite a few of them mentioned that they appreciate it. I'll get emails every once in a while, phone calls every once in a while, people saying, "Hey, we appreciate this. Thank you for this." Got a couple of suggestions of topics to talk about. Right, I've actually done that. So I would encourage your listeners to check it out. Brooklyn, Ohio Today, as we've said many times, although we're two separate entities, we serve the same people. So to be able to communicate with them anyway, talking about the positive things, I think is good.
Well, I will tell you, speaking of the collaboration, I think, so often when you get residents, there are people looking to move into an area, the two questions they often ask are tell us about the city services and tell us about the schools. And I will tell you, from my standpoint as superintendent, I am so fortunate to, and again, I'm not saying this just to say it, like, I'm so fortunate as the superintendent of this district to have support from you as the mayor, from the city council. It is the rec center. It's been an absolute dream in terms of just the work we've been able to accomplish throughout our time together. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, I'll echo that thanks as well. When I first took office, it's hard to believe almost 3 years ago. Yeah, when I took office, you were the first person that I met with outside of my own staff, because I echo your sentiment that we want to work together. We want to collaborate. As I said, we are two separate entities. I think that people sometimes fully understand that, which is fine. But we serve the same people. And so to be able to collaborate together in any way possible, I think the last several years, if people who are paying attention have really seen, we do that and we continue to do that. So the city is grateful for the schools are grateful for the city, and that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. We're very fortunate. So I think what's really interesting about some of the things that we have going on in the city and in the school district is we've kind of lined up in terms of our services and some of the facility renovations and some of the things that we're doing in the district, but also you have a lot going on in the city in terms of renovations and just things you've done. And I think that is an absolute attracts people to this area in terms of what they have coming in. people have heard what we have going on here, and just like tell us a little bit about city things and initiatives that you want to talk about. I know we got a dog park, we got some stuff at Memorial. Tell me a little bit about some of the city things going on.
So as I mentioned many times when people ask about the projects that are going on in the city, all of this is derived out of a master plan the city had completed back in 2020. And we've really just taken that master plan, 5 goals, starting with my predecessor, and we just continue to move around down the field, so to speak. We're actually in the process of updating that master plan, and that will be created sometime in the late first quarter, early second quarter of next year. But all the renovations and projects that you see going on around the city are a result of that. Probably the biggest ones that people see the most, of course, are the park renovations. We finished Markwork Park a couple of years ago. Yeah. Veterans Memorial Park is under construction right now. That'll be finished in time for the spring of next year. The Pocket Park over on the corner of Regent Vandalia, the equipment is in. That'll be finished in the spring as well. The biggest one we have on the horizon, and this obviously affects the school district because we partner so much with the recreation department, is our recreation center and auditorium. Yeah. That's going to be a $14 million renovation. We are right now working with an architect and construction manager at risk to put together that plan. We're at about 60%. We have a big meeting coming up this next week to kind of finalize that, well, not finalize, but see that 60% progress. It's kind of an arduous process. When you have a building that's as big as the auditorium is, to kind of start peeling by layers, similar to what you have here.
For sure.
Yeah, same thing. When you start tearing apart or tearing down and put that back together and improve it is a little bit difficult. But the auditorium is long overdue for an overhaul. It will be a complete overhaul. We say auditorium, but it actually affects both sides. There'll be an elevator that will be able to reach both levels now. That wonky glass hallway that's on the front of the building will be gone. The two sides will connect from inside. Right. All new locker rooms, all new restrooms. The pool deck will be replaced. There'll be a brand new facade on the front, like a 2-story entry. And so that project will begin, the actual construction will begin in March of next year is the anticipated goal. No one can really see what's going on right now, but there's a ton of work going on behind the scenes, as you're well familiar with as you work on your school rebuild project. And so that'll take up a lot of the time next year in the city. But all of these projects benefit the residents, and that's the key. We want to continue having the quality of life to improve here in our city. And so you mentioned the dog park as well.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that was kind of tucked away with the inside of the master plan as I was reviewing it. The challenge with dog parks is, first of all, location. You don't want to have them in the middle of a residential neighborhood for obvious reasons. But at the same time, you don't want them so far away from residents that no one goes to. That's right. So as I was actually looking at a Google map of the city of Brooklyn, trying to find what would be a good ideal place for one. He had some property next to the service garage, and it was wide open space and it was being used. And so we hired an architect to put together a plan, and October of this year it opened up. So we're very excited about that. It gets used a lot. We've had a lot of positive comments on it. Just another quality of life type.
Yeah,
type
for
of thing you
sure.
have here in the city.
And I will tell you, there's not a lot of cities with that type of venue. I mean, and so we have dogs in our house, and we're always looking for places to take them, and that's just amazing. I will tell you, from a collaboration standpoint, I love the fact that you're looking at the auditorium, right? Because one of the things that we want to offer here in the district on the road is a swim team, and I know that we have, we collaborate with facilities, but this just gives another opportunity for both our kids in the city, our youth to develop another type of program. So that's been very exciting.
Well, that's one of the items inside the rec center so right now you can't host swim meets there,
Right.
because when the pool was put in, we could, but then the state changed the law for the depth of the entry, and we were too shallow for the new law. So you can't just go and the pool deep.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're moving the entry blocks to the other end of the pool, the deep end of the pool,
Right.
to allow for the swim meets to happen once again. So yeah, I mean, and largely schools we had in mind for that.
Yes, and that's one of the things I think that is just so beneficial to our relationship. And what I appreciate is just our constant conversations in terms of things going on in the city, the school district, so we can hopefully align things down the road. Tell me a little bit about the work at Memorial Park.
Yeah, so it's a complete remodel, essentially. The pavilion is obviously the centerpiece of that park, and so that was going to be the focus of the dollars and of the rebuild. We wanted to be able to still offer the open air pavilion because it gets
Yeah.
used a lot in the summertime, but we also wanted to be able to utilize the park for more than just a couple of months out of the year. So we made the decision to basically make it what's referred to as a free season pavilion. So it'll be able to be completely open, but it'll also be able to be completely closed. And there will be heat inside of it. On days when it's 15 degrees outside, it's not going to get below a comfortable 72.
Right.
But it'll be able to be used in those later fall months and the earlier spring months for, birthday parties. So that's a big thing. Another big renovation is the sport area where we had the tennis and the basketball. So basketball will be back. We are taking away the sport court for basketball. That was a big request because does get slippery when you're playing basketball. The reason why you put the sport court on there is because of maintenance. There's no no maintenance.
For sure.
So, but that's going to be gone, or it is gone now for the basketball side. It's been completely re-asphalted. On the tennis side, we are actually taking the area where the Safety Town used to be, and we've moved Safety Town. That's going to go behind the Recreation Center.
Pickleball?
Yeah.
Here we go.
We're for pickleball.
That is outstanding.
That was a big request as we were moving forward with this, and then tennis will stay on the other side. And then there'll also be some open area where the basketball courts are actually going to move over to where the skate park used to be, and there'll be an open area that allows for other types of programming as we move forward.
Do you still have walking paths at Memorial Park?
Yes.
Excellent. What I was going to say is, and this is something I'm glad I want to mention to our listeners, part of our renovation project up at the stadium complex right off Hurricane Alley is this spring, early fall, hopefully, we're going to be creating a walking path at our stadium complex. But part of our ask and our want in doing this was to connect the walking path at the stadium to Memorial Park. So we now will have ability for residents, whoever, to get a little bit of a longer walking path and kind of a little bit more scenic view. So that, again, that's another wonderful part of our relationship. Just trying to look, even though we are separate, like you said, try to look at our services almost as a collective response.
Well, that Hurricane Alley property in Veterans Memorial Park, they bought up right
absolutely.
right in the middle of town. So yes, being able to have those paths join each other, I think is going to be great. And there's a ton of people use those paths. Yeah. So I think to be able to have an additional path to walk on Hurricane Alley, it's great.
Outstanding.
Mayor, last thing I really want to talk about, which I think is just a cool concept, Brooklyn is, 4 square miles. And when you think of the city of Brooklyn, there's not a lot of opportunity for continued housing development, right? We have a lot of industry, a lot of businesses. We have a lot of longstanding residential areas. But you have found a way to bring some added housing development to the city. Tell us a little bit about that project and timelines and just what your vision was for that.
Sure. So again, I alluded to the master plan earlier, and one of the items that came out of that was a desire to see additional housing built in the city. As is common in many of the suburbs here in Northeast Ohio, they were built out very, very quickly in the 1950s and 1960s, and really have not been able to have additional residential development since then. So as part of that master plan, residents wanted to see not only additional housing, but also different types of housing. For the most part in this city, we have single family homes. I live in one, which I'm very, very grateful for, and that will always be the majority of the city. But there was a desire to see people wanted to be homeowners, but they did not really want the maintenance. And so that's where this townhome concept came into play. So many years ago, the city began cobbling together enough property to be able to see that come to fruition. So that project is now underway, and I just wanted to share with your audience what that means for the school district.
Please, yes.
So right now, there are 3 parcels of land that the city is building on. 2 of them are owned by the city, which means there are no tax dollars being collected as they are tax exempt. And then the third parcel is just some vacant land right next to what we refer to as the kingdom. Mm-hmm. So I ran some numbers. So right now, the school district is bringing in a whopping $5,440 a year on all 3 of those parcels combined, which obviously I'm grateful for the money, but not a whole lot.
Sure.
So seeing these new residents come in is kind of a twofold blessing for the school district. Yeah. Of course, it's a blessing. It's nice for the city to have additional residents, but it also could mean new students for your district, which is always a good thing.
Oh, for sure.
But on the other side is additional revenue for the school. And I know with so many changes going on in Columbus on the school funding side, as well as the city funding side, there's always some uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So with these new homes, there will be 62 new residences here in the city of Brooklyn, which means there will be 62 privately owned homes for property taxes. And so we have, and I won't bore you with the details, but we've had an outside counsel run some numbers on what that means for both the city and the schools. And so these are going to be TIF districts. And I gave a presentation at a previous council meeting about what that means. And all of our TIFs are non-school, which means the schools are made whole in anything that the city does. And so right now, as I mentioned a second ago, about $5,400 a year on all three of these parcels goes to the schools. Once all of these are developed, and we're using a round number of what the selling price will be, but basically that number will go from $5,000 to $150,000 a year that will be going into the school over the life of the TIF. And it's a 30-year TIF. So over that time, the school district in Caleris will bring in a little over $5.7 million. So that obviously is a huge boon or a huge help to the school district as far as funding goes, but also to see these new residents come into the city as a benefit to the city of Brooklyn. So it really is a win-win, as we talked about before, for everyone. And it is different. I know some people don't like change, and that's fine.
Sure.
But being able to see these new residents built in the community really will benefit not only the schools, but also the school district for this reason I
this
just
is
gave.
just for the listeners, this is just another example of city development, city strategic planning, city being creative to support the school district. You know, we were very fortunate back in March of 24 that the city residents supported the bond issue. But and that is what is driving the renovations in our district, which were needed, and we're so thankful for that result. I will tell you, part of our financial success in the district is things like this. The city does not look at it in a selfish way, and that is so supportive. And I've said this before publicly. I'm gonna say it again. So when we did this renovation project, City Council, City of Brooklyn, the mayor could have charged us probably in excess of $300,000 or $400,000 in permitting fees, which I will tell you happens in other cities. I know personally superintendents who are doing building projects, and their city government are receiving $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 in permitting fees, which take away from the project. The city of Brooklyn, Mayor Van Kirk, City Council waive those fees. And I will tell you that that was directly led from City Council, the mayor, and the support is so appreciative. And it just goes back into our services, back into the facilities. And so as superintendent, my life becomes fundamentally easier when I have a great relationship with city leadership like yourself and the council. And this project, not only does it add housing to the city, bringing in new residents in a great area. Let's be honest with you. This Brooklyn is a hidden gem, but it brings kids into our district. It brings resources. It brings funds back in the district, which just helps in the things we do and the services we provide. So, thank you for being creative and thinking outside the box.
Well, it's my pleasure. And as I mentioned before, this process has been ongoing for several years. It predates me. I was on council, obviously, at the time. But we are excited to see this done. And as far as the waiving the fees goes, it's just common sense, in my opinion. We're serving the same constituency. I very much appreciate the kind words. And you are right. There are other districts the cities that do charge for it, and they can do what they want. But I would much rather see those permitting dollars go into the project that's being done for the school district, because, again, we serve the same constituency. So we want to see those dollars go to where they were intended to go to, not towards permitting fees. And I will say one more thing, that's permanent. So we actually drafted legislation to make that permanent. So any projects that the school does, there are no permitting fees, when the city is directly involved with that kind of thing.
And I will tell you, part of our construction project has to involve the city, because we have to get clearance from the building commission. We have to have inspectors come in. We have to have the fire department come in. And I will tell you, from start to finish, like the city is part of this process, but they also allow us to keep the projects moving along. And so I know we had a little delay with our early childhood center back in September. The city was right there with us to help us facilitate that. So It's absolutely appreciated. It's not common. And I don't care what other cities or school districts do, but our partnership has helped for the success for our kids. So
And hopefully
thank you for that.
this time next year, you'll be seeing some additional students coming into your
Yes, we
school from
hope so.
These houses.
We
So
hope so. Well, this is Mayor. Any other last words? Any other comments? Any other things you want to mention to the audience?
just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Have a
Yeah.
blessed New Year, and I count it a privilege to serve in this capacity. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Mayor, thank you so much. This has been the latest episode of the Hurricane Watch podcast. Again, Ted Caleris here, superintendent, with Ron Van Kirk, mayor of the city of Brooklyn. Thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday season.